this your favorite class in the world? Be honest.
Sometimes.
Oh, that's bad.
They're quiet.
Chapter 9. Remember,
She had just called him about Marcus framing Nick for taking the alarm clock.
blame, not frame. And then Marcus was like, no, don't, because I feel so...
Scared. Guilty.
Quit with a sad, mad, glad, bad. No, Marcos was he was sounding like a little whiny little baby is what he was sounding like, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was going to feel embarrassed if he came down. So chapter 9, Nick was coming down. It must have taken Nick about a minute to run down, but it seemed longer. Mom and I waited in the living room with me with my hands in my pockets. The only thing I said was, "Want me to get a towel to dry your hair?" And she shook her head. Then he tapped the window. Mom opened the door. "Is something wrong?" He stepped past her, looking at me. "Sort of," I said. "Let's go into the kitchen." Mom led the way, and Nick spread his hands in a "what's up?" kind of gesture at me. He was wearing blue pajama bottoms and a short terry robe. I looked through him as if he wasn't there. Mom and I sat at one side of the table, Nick at the other. The accused, I thought. "Marcus is upset because he thinks you're coming here when we're not around," Mom said. "Secretly." "What makes you think that, Marcus?" Nick asked. I wondered if it meant he was guilty because he didn't deny anything straight off. "Because someone's been here a bunch of times and you have a key," I said. "Marcus thinks you're taking stuff," Mom added. Nick folded his big hands on the table in front of him. "I have never done that, Marcus," he said. "I have been here a couple of times on my own. Once because your mother asked me to let the plumber in and stay while he worked, and once..." He turned to Mom. "Didn't I take a delivery of something, Caroline?" "The chair from Krenwinkel's." "But I didn't come secretly, and I promise I didn't take anything. I think I made myself a cup of instant coffee." "Oh, stop it, Nick," Mom said wearily. "Marcus, can't you see how silly this is?" I got up and took the spatula from the kitchen drawer. "What are you doing now?" Mom asked. But I didn't reply. I brought back the clump of grass and I slid it onto the table. Nick touched it the way I'd done. "It was on the floor in front of the laundry room toilet," I said. "Not from your shoe?" Nick asked. "Or yours, Caroline?" I answered for both of us. "No. And someone took her clock. If it wasn't you, Nick, then someone else has been here." "There's more to this, isn't there?" Nick asked. "Why don't you sit down and tell us, Marcus?" I told him about the key in the wrong place, the bread, everything. Even the odd feeling I'd had that first morning. "And now the grass prints and the clock," I ended, watching Nick the way I once saw Patchen watch a potato bug. There was nothing to see in Nick's face. No blushing, no paling, no shifty eyes. Mom rubbed her forehead. "But why didn't you tell me about the key before, Marcus? I trusted you to act responsibly. You were tired all the time, and I wasn't sure." "You don't have to be sure. We have a deal, the two of us. If you're scared at all, if you even suspect something isn't right..." It made it worse that she was getting mad at me in front of Nick. She looked ready to say more, but she didn't. Under the table, Nick's foot brushed against mine, and I realized, knew absolutely, that he'd given Mama a little nudge, a warning to say, "Go easy and not hassle me anymore." Why do you always have to interfere? Even if I believed him that he hadn't taken any of our stuff, and I wasn't sure I did believe him, he should keep his nose out of our business. "I suspected something tonight, and you didn't like it that much," I said. Let's just take another look around, Nick said quietly. Caroline, would you like to stay here? No, I'm coming with you. The three of us went again, room to room. The only thing missing seemed to be the clock. I don't begin to understand this. Look. Mom opened the drawer in her bedside table, and I saw 3 small piles of $5 and $10 bills with paper clips and notes attached to them. I got money from the bank yesterday. Last night in bed I was figuring out what the grocery bill would be tomorrow and putting aside the Christmas money for the paperboy and mailman. Whoever took the clock didn't look very far or wasn't interested. Something horrible was nagging at my mind, trying to make me listen to it, and suddenly I knew what it was. If I had my key with me every second today, how did the person get in? He got in today. The clock was there this morning. We were in the kitchen again where we'd started. The key could have been taken a couple of days ago and a copy made, Nick said. Then the person could use it to go in and out whenever he wanted. But why? Mom asked. And why here? Especially when so little was taken. It gives me the creeps. Maybe he just happened on that key by luck. Maybe he had nowhere else to go. Mom shivered. I can't stand it. Someone in here touching our things, eating our food. My mind was shifting in dizzying circles. Someone's been sitting in my chair. Someone's been sleeping in my bed. Do you think we should call the police, Marcus? Mom asked. I couldn't believe she was asking me and not Nick, or that he was waiting for me to decide. Of course, that's the way it should be. What do you think, Nick? I definitely couldn't believe I'd just asked him. It's not much of a case, Nick said. One inexpensive clock. The police have too much serious stuff going on. I suspect they'd tell you to have the locks changed. I'll have them changed all right first thing tomorrow morning. The ringing of the doorbell almost stopped my breathing. Who on earth? Mom whispered. Nick held up his hand. I'll go. I went, too, a few paces behind him. It's Miss Sarah, he said after he'd looked out the living room window. She was wearing her plaid robe and a pair of knitted slippers she and Miss Coriander make and donate to the old people's home. We saw the 3 of you going room to room, she said, and the house is lit up like the 4th of July. Is something wrong? Mom came then and explained about how the clock was missing and what we suspected. You mean that cheap plastic clock you keep by your bed? I could tell Miss Sarah was wondering if we'd all gone crazy. Nobody could have come in or out of this house without Coriander or me seeing them, and that's definite. We keep an eye on all comings and goings over here. It seemed to me she was staring accusingly at Nick. The back door isn't within your seeing range, Miss Sarah, Nick said. Not if someone came through the hedge in the other direction. Miss Sarah gave one of her disbelieving sniffs. I have to call Coriander, she said. She's waiting by the phone in case of an emergency. If I don't contact her in 3 minutes, she'll dial 911. We listened as Miss Sarah gave her sister a full report, sounding as if the whole thing was ridiculous. And she expected Miss Coriander to feel the same way. We both agree that you and Marcus should not sleep here tonight, she told Mom when she finished. Get your pajamas and your toothbrush, Marcus. We'll find sheets and pillows and put the 2 of you in our guest bedroom. I didn't think Miss Sarah or Miss Coriander could find the beds in their guest room. Never mind the sheets and pillow. Their whole house is as messy as their kitchen. That's not necessary, Miss Sarah, Mom said. But really, thanks. It probably isn't, but if there's the slightest chance that someone does have a key to your house, you're certainly not going to be here if he comes in. Don't be silly, Caroline. Why don't I just stay and sleep on the couch tonight, Nick asked. That'd be easiest. Miss Sarah's brown eye and blue eye narrowed and her long nose went up. It would indeed be easy, Mr. Milardovich, but not wise. Caroline would be much safer with us. That's not funny at all to any of you? that the two old ladies could keep them safer than a big old PE teacher? I could tell Miss Sarah didn't like the thought of Mom and Nick being friends any more than I did. I think it's a very good idea, Mom said quickly. Less trouble all around. If you're sure you don't mind the couch, Nick? Looks great to me. I'm sure. Somehow Miss Sarah always gets in a parting shot. So Mom got Nick sheets and a light blanket and a pillow. I have to admit that when I was in bed, it was good to think of Nick in the living room. I'd given him the blackthorn stick, and he'd put it on the rug right next to his hand. I lay picturing some faceless person sneaking into her house, moving secretively, quietly, and Nick roaring up from the couch with a blackthorn in his hand, and like an enraged bear out for blood.
With a black what?
The blackthorn stick?
Oh, blackthorn stick? What is that?
The big stick.
Oh.
It's probably like a walking stick.
Oh.
Unless, of course, Nick was the faceless person. Then we'd ask the fox to come in and share the chicken coop.
It's a like metaphor.
Okay, to explain the metaphor, fox and the chicken coop.
Like a fox likes to eat chickens out in the wild, and it's just like inviting.
So why invite the fox into the chicken coop to guard the chickens?
Because Nick is supposedly the fox, and he's right in their house, protecting them.
Mm-hmm. And if a fox was in a chicken coop protecting the chickens, he would really be having dinner. But why would he want to? What reason could he possibly have? Anyway, if he'd been coming here secretly, he'd been stopped. We'd scared him off, and Miss Sarah and Miss Coriander would be on double guard duty from here on in. Was he sleeping now? I tiptoed into the living room. Nick was snoring softly on the couch. He reminded me of the Santa in the mall with a sign on his stomach. The couch was too short, and Nick's hairy legs and knobby feet hung over the end, poking from under the blanket. It jumped into my head how quick he'd been to say we shouldn't call the police. Quietly, I lifted the blackthorn stick from the floor by the couch and took it with me when I went back to bed. No sense leaving him a weapon. Yes?
Just like the fox in the chicken coop, if you give the fox a weapon.
You don't want the fox to have a weapon.